I don't believe it. Another massive skyscraper in San Francisco is now going through the foreclosure process. And we're not talking about those small little apartment complexes. We're not talking about like three-story offices. We're talking about multi-story buildings. Like when you go through the San Francisco Oakland Bridge, you're going to be seeing these buildings whether you like it or not. So these are all very iconic buildings, and these are the buildings that you see. Let's say you go through Seattle. Those are like the cool looking buildings on wallpapers. So these are iconic skyscrapers going to the foreclosure section. That is terrible, okay? And let's see what's going on with WeWork, because we all know what WeWork is. They're basically a glorified landlord that try to rebrand themselves as a tech company. They really are not a tech company. WeWorks are kind of cool, I guess. If I'm going to a big city, I got like a small, little office at home, but it's kind of boring. I want to meet people, and it's kind of nice to have that environment. So WeWork offers that. They have that co-working space that a lot of young workers really do like it, and they're willing to pay big bucks to get a WeWork membership. So now, Torchlight Loan Services is filing a foreclosure lawsuit against WeWork Capital Advisors. If you guys don't know what the Capital Advisor section is, it's basically WeWork's investment firm. So they have this massive 20-story tower in 600 California Street in downtown San Francisco. So 600 California Street is a very, very nice building. It's right next to Chinatown. So it's actually next to some of the best tourist hotspots, and it's in a very good location as well. So if you look at this building, I'm pretty sure it's one of these. It's right there. Look at how big this building is. This is a very fat building. It's enormous. It looks great. It's downtown San Francisco. I can't ask for a better location if you want something super corporate. So there you go. This is a tower. It looks phenomenal. So what's going on is WeWork borrowed $240 million in loans. So Goldman Sachs loaned WeWork $140 million, and also Citi also loaned them $100 million. So that's about $250 million of loans. So one of the biggest reasons why a lot of San Francisco real estate companies and also tech companies, and they're just foreclosing buildings, is because the mortgage or debt that they took out is like 2 to 3 times more than the value of the building. So let me show you guys a very good example, which is Park 55 San Francisco Hotels. This is a very iconic hotel right next to the Westfield Mall, which now is closed. It's very sad. So this is the hotel. Look at how enormous this hotel is. It's like one of San Francisco's biggest hotels, and it's a very tall hotel as well. And Park 55, guess what happened to them? They defaulted on 2 hotels in the same location, and it's $750 million worth of loans. So their excuse was, number one, there's not that many tenants. Okay, there's not that many tenants. Usually you try to make something work and not go the default route. And then lastly, they said, the most important quote, the building itself isn't even worth half of what our mortgage is. So what's the point of even paying, right? It really is no point. And I think this is kind of what's happening at WeWork. We're also seeing several investors in the real estate sector in San Francisco. A lot of them bought it during the peak, especially during the peak when interest rates are very low. It was very tempting to buy these places. So they bought in, right? Expecting San Francisco to have a very good office recovery. But psych, nobody came back to San Francisco. They're at pretty much a negative in terms of traffic. And 150,000 office workers that used to work in San Francisco have left, or they no longer commute to San Francisco and they work somewhere else in the Bay Area online with cheaper rents, which I'm all down for. So a lot of these buildings, which people purchased for like $200 million, are now only worth $50 million. And we actually have the transaction proof to show you guys. We have several buildings that were sold for like $160 million, like Wells Fargo's building that recently was transacted for $40 million, like a 75% off. So WeWork, I guess they make the right decision to just foreclose the building. I don't really know what's going on with the lender and WeWork. WeWork has always been a little bit sketchy in terms of how they, advertise their company. It's not really a tech company, guys. It's more like a glorified, minimalist-looking landlord. But nevertheless, WeWork straight up just said, screw it. We're just going to default on a loan. And that's what a lot of investors are doing. So I can't really blame them, right? And there's like a massive San Francisco fire sale. And here's the thing. People think they're going to San Francisco. They're buying these massive apartments and massive office buildings. They think they're getting a great deal at 70% discount, right? They're bottom fishing. But in my opinion, I wouldn't even buy in San Francisco. Sure, you're buying it for like insane discounts, like 50 to 70%. But what are the chances of recovery? I mean, a lot of tech companies nowadays are no longer needing to go to major cities. Many of the new startup tech companies, they just work online, right? We're seeing Charles Schwab proving to other banks and financial institutions that closing office spaces could save them $500 million. Charles Schwab is happy. 500 million bucks saved every single year. They could put that in other things and even just pay themselves, pay their shareholders. Shareholders are happy. And that's what's happening, right? I really don't like buying office buildings, especially in San Francisco, where there's a massive outflow of talent and barely any inflow of companies. Yeah, you may hear on the news that there's some AI companies moving in, but most companies are moving out. Investors, like I said before, are buying some properties. Like one investor paid just $41 million for a property bought in 2014 for $107 million. Guys, let me just give you guys a quick reference. If you bought a $100 million building, for example, in Hong Kong or Singapore, now is worth at least double that amount, let alone 60% off, right? It's $41 million is like what, like 90s prices? That's why I think, there's a lot of crime, a lot of homelessness, which is pretty much causing a lot of people just stop coming here. It's a doom loop. It's basically a loop. Businesses are leaving because of crime. And when businesses leave, employees leave and people leave as well. And then when people come in, they're like, oh, there's no stores here. They don't want to come in, right? It's kind of like social media. You only want to go to the place if everyone else is there. Same thing with San Francisco. So many companies are leaving. That's a massive turnoff for people. As big corporate leaves, small businesses eventually leave as well. And eventually the everyday working citizens leave for other places. Like seriously though, San Francisco is such a great place. You got the water, you got the beach, you got cool stuff. The culture is great. You got like the original Chinatown, all this really cool stuff. But right now with all this crime and craziness happening and with the lawlessness at an all-time high in San Francisco, I kind of see why people want to leave. And I kind of see why, these real estate properties are down bad. And a lot of these guys are like, screw it, let's just foreclose on the building. And this is a big thing for regional banks. Regional banks are the ones giving out massive loans for these commercial office towers. And when they default, guess who's holding the bag? Regional banks. And they don't like that at all. And check this out. San Diego's honestly doing a pretty good job. Like I said before, San Francisco's like, screw it, let's just let everyone sleep on the floor. Let's just let tents everywhere. It's not normal to have tents in your downtown. It really isn't. It's not normal for you to go to the playground and you see people smoking fentanyl. That's actually one of the biggest stories recently in San Francisco. San Diego opens first safe sleeping site tents for homeless people after the council voted a ban on homeless encampments. San Diego's hard on a lot of the homeless stuff. They actually ban tents from the downtown areas and the tourist traps. Now, they do allow tents, but only in certain areas, right? So, certain areas in San Diego allows you to have tents. And that's a good thing because, one, they can offer a lot of social services to the people who are in need. And two, better hygiene, it's cleaner, and also it doesn't impede on the sidewalk. And small businesses are actually pretty happy with San Diego. San Diego's tourism is at an all-time high right now. There's still companies and people moving to San Diego. And despite them having a pretty big homeless problem, they actually manage it pretty well. Not perfect by any means, but at least I could go out at night and not expect just a whole row of tents. I think everyone, the homeless people, they deserve, care. But also, look at the small business owners. And plus, you just can't have tents on the sidewalks everywhere. I'm cool with designated spots for tents. It's obviously not perfect, but I think San Diego is doing something to save their city. Whereas San Francisco is really going down this doom loop. I really hope San Francisco changes. It's a really awesome city. You visited it before the pandemic. Had its problems, but it was pretty fun. But now I wouldn't go to San Francisco at all.